Wellness Company. How you doing, Doc? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Todd. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so there's been a lot happening since we last talked a few months ago in the MAHA movement, with the CDC, with the administration, with the vaccines, with the mRNA. Where do we stand on making America healthy again, in your opinion?
Well, the MAHA movement is gaining traction because the soil for truth is rich right now. People are starving for this information. So the tides are turning. I mean, the health and chronic disease is at the forefront of this conversation, and the truth about vaccinations are coming to the forefront, which I would say brings vindication to you and I in this lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's it's an exciting time to be alive right now. So finally, the truth is coming out.
Completely agreed. What roadblocks are being thrown up? I know that there was one with the CDC and ended up at least getting rid of the old administrator and maybe somebody new. Has there been a new one appointed yet? Do you know of?
I don't know if there's been a new appointee yet for that, but how do you say it? People are there is a lot of transitions occurring in the CDC and especially in the ACIP, which we saw with new members being appointed there. And I think that they're really the roadblocks here are the people that are still involved. The six surgeons general now trying to get rid of Bobby Kennedy coming about. You see this campaign coming against him and the movement because they're terrified. They're protecting this $1 trillion industry. And so they're terrified of this whole industry falling apart, but it's rotting from the inside out. And so we're seeing that.
As we approach the fall, temperatures are coming down. Let's just talk health for a minute. Flu is going to start circulating. What can people do to not get sick, essentially, in this environment?
Yeah, I mean, first off, we're entering the sugar holidays, right? So, in the vitamin D deficiency season, I mean, this is a very stressful time for a lot of people. A lot of people always go over budget during Christmas time. We have a sugar holiday followed by a cake holiday, followed by, a Christmas holiday. And so our diets play a massive role. I mean, all disease and flu season, I was taught there are only 4 seasons in school, not 5. But, the flu season is really a vitamin D deficiency season. But we need to, value our health now before we get sick. So many people, we have high stress. We don't get enough sleep, and this whole daylight savings time thing, we so-called lose an hour, gain an hour of sleep, which doesn't make any sense to me. Only the government thinks that they can cut an inch off a blanket and add it to the top of the blanket and have a longer blanket, right? But, this is a real issue here. But the flu season, we need to value our health, get enough sleep, be sufficient of vitamin D. Unless we get 30 minutes of summer sunlight, we're going to be deficient in vitamin D. So we need to have supplementation here with vitamin D. And God forbid we do get sick, there are things that we can do to really combat that. And there's some really good things out there. The Wellness Company has a lot of good things out there that I recommend.
So I am never going to take another vaccine again, but the flu vaccine is coming around. What say you on that?
Well, it's worthless, first and foremost. You can save 5 cents on your gasoline. You might be able to get some perks here, but really it's going to be at the expense of your health. The flu shot has been absolutely, it's disastrous. The flu, every year, we hear in the media that 80,000 people die of the flu every year, or these are far cries, because if you look at the National Vital Reporting System, the subdivision of the CDC is the data collection system. They actually hyperinflate those numbers. Really, if you look at some of the studies that were published in the American Physicians of Surgeons, they talked about how 90% of the deaths occur in the elderly, and most of those people have comorbidities, and not only that, they're on 13 plus medications. So the flu season, again, we always hear, we need to get this vaccine to prevent the flu. I've never once had a flu shot, and I never get the flu.
Funny how that happens. supplements.
Yeah, what does that tell you? I take care of my body. I give the body what it needs. I give it enough rest, and I'm well. And that's really the solution here. So we shouldn't fear the so-called flu. Again, fear mongering is such a crime with the media. I was taught that fear is the fire that fuels the furnace of disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so we shouldn't have to fear the so-called flu, but just give the body what it needs and we can be well. But again, they hyperinflate those numbers and they really manipulate the data to scare and coerce people to get the flu shot.
If you do get the flu, I know the wellness company has some options for that, the emergency medical kits, et cetera. I've got a few here, which I show all the time. But what do you suggest to, as a representative of the wellness company, what do you provide for those kind of disease?
Yep. So first off, I recommend all disease starts with toxicity and deficiency. We need to move away from that into purity and sufficiency. And we do that with good supplementation. First off, giving the body what it needs. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So really prevention is the key here. Okay. So good supplementation. The wellness company has some of the best supplements on the planet, but moving away, if we do get sick, God forbid we do get sick, they have some heavy hitters here. I call it vitamin I. In the emergency kit with the ivermectin, you can get that. I can't tell you how many people I know that got sick during COVID and they didn't get the vaccine. They're like, oh, I just took ivermectin and I was better within a day. That is legit, happened. And now this is another thing. Ivermectin is a powerful anti-parasitic. So what does that tell you about this so-called flu? Maybe it's parasitic in nature. So the ivermectin is very powerful. People had taken that and they've gotten better. The wellness company has that. And they also have a phenomenal list of the best things out there. So, and I'm not just saying that, I do take spike support also. That's something I would recommend for a lot of people. The spike detox is something I think that it should be in every cabinet because the shedding is a real thing. People are suffering now more with myocarditis, cardiovascular issues than ever before. And so the spike toxin is a real thing. So, the spike detox is one of those supplements that I would put on the top of the list.
So that is the spike protein is created by the vaccine or by COVID, by the shedding, as you said. The ingredients in the ultimate spike detox will studies have shown it reduces the spike protein, which can
the nattokinase. Yep, that's the whole goal of that. With the dandelion root and the selenium, it's all going to be a very, very powerful detoxifier, cleanser in the body. So I do recommend that. 100%.
And we're not saying it cures cancer, but the spike protein may have an impact on some of the turbo cancers we're seeing, possibly. So
yeah, I mean, possibly. The antioxidant has been shown. Obviously, the selenium has been shown to be very beneficial. So yes. Yep.
Okay, let's move to ivermectin. I've read some stuff that it's effective against certain skin conditions, and I have some full disclosure that from COVID, kind of a long COVID, maybe it's autoimmune or whatever, but weird skin things happen, and I think that's common among people. I didn't get the vaccine, but ivermectin can be effective against that. Am I right?
Well, ivermectin cream is a new thing from the wellness company, and it's let me tell you, this thing there's no other product like it on the market.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
For any autoimmune or skin inflammatory condition, this ivermectin cream is going to work wonders. It can be even for chronic acne. So you rub it on the face, the acne will disappear. Rosacea, any inflammatory skin condition, the ivermectin cream is going to do wonders for people, and it has. So,
wow.
So it's even eczema. So it's something that I would recommend for 100%.
Are people waking up to the corruption in the medical establishment?
I think now more than ever before, and I think you know the answer to that. I mean, again, the soil for truth is rich. So many people are waking up. They're asking questions. I mean, 10 years ago, having a vaccine conversation it had such a negative connotation around the conversation, and people thought you were a quack or a loon even just to bring it up. But now more people are waking up to that. But, what did we learn during COVID? Big Pharma overplayed their hand, and so I think people are waking up and people are asking questions, and I'm very thankful for that. And so, now it's not so taboo to talk about these questions or talk about vaccines in general. People are waking up. The tides are turning. I wish more people would wake up to this, but I'm encouraged by the how do you say it? I just think of the quote by Sam Adams. He said, "It doesn't take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of the people." I feel like that irate, tireless minority, they're getting louder by the
Yeah.
day, and they're waking up and they're speaking out. They're not afraid to speak out against these issues, and we're asking questions. When you have a president now talking about autism and the correlation with vaccinations and Tylenol and acetaminophen, I mean, this is an exciting time. This is something that that you and I have worked very hard for many years to bring the truth to the people, and especially the corruption around the vaccine industry. I mean, this is a burden that we've been carrying for decades, and now we're finally talking about it. These topics are coming to the surface, and the people are listening. So I'm very thankful for that. Again, it's an exciting time.
Last question. I've had a lot of pushback on the Tylenol issue. Do you know a lot about? Can you add some clarity as to why that's a problem? You may not know, but
yeah, well, the acetaminophen. Here's the thing. The pushback that I'm getting is like, listen, it's the vaccines. Okay, the vaccines in correlation with autism. First of all, autism is not genetic. There's an epigenetic cause factor here. Okay, and it is not these children are not born with it. The diagnostic tool for autism is based on a behavioral analysis. There's no lab. There's no genetic factor here. Okay, so there's an environmental toxicity factor that's causing this disease. And first and foremost, it's not just the acetaminophen or Tylenol. It is the vaccines. Vaccines light the fire, and Tylenol is putting fuel on that fire. Because what happens when we take acetaminophen or Tylenol, the byproduct of that through the liver is going to be a nasty byproduct, okay, that actually requires glutathione to metabolize. Okay, we need to have the most powerful antioxidant in the body called glutathione, which metabolizes that byproduct of acetaminophen. Okay, so then you add vaccinations on top of that, or any trauma or stress, or like circumcision or whatever it may be. Birth is a stressor already. Just during the birthing canal, 80 pounds of pressure can be on the cervical spine of an infant. But I digress here. But what happens, the birthing process can be very stressful in itself. But you add vaccinations on top of that. We do flu vaccinations in utero. We do hepatitis B vaccine within the first 8 to 12 hours of life. We do vitamin K shots on top of this. And vitamin K is a synthetic hormone, which actually toxicates the liver. It can be very, very toxicating for the liver. And then you add acetaminophen on top of that. What do you think is going to happen? It's the perfect storm, creating this neurological damage, what we call autism. And so autism is not genetic, it's epigenetic, meaning that there's a causal factor here. And so when we talk about Tylenol, I'm thankful that we're talking about this. Yes, it can be harmful and can be fuel in the fire, but the real underlying issue here are the vaccines, the amount of vaccines, and the level of aluminum adjuvants, MSG, yes, the thimerosal, which is 49% ethyl mercury. It is a neurotoxin. I don't care what anybody says. It is very damaging during the nervous system. I mean, you look at a baby's nervous system that develops, the nervous system doubles in size that first year of life. Not only that, we have a condition, a developmental stage in when these babies are born called exuberant neurosynaptogenesis, which that nervous system is developing at a rapid rate. It's doubling in size. I mean, all those neural pathways are developing, and we have the most amount of vaccines in that period of time. It's common sense to think maybe we shouldn't be doing that, but unfortunately, common sense, Todd, is not so common.
Well, it almost begs, and I think I know the answer, but you have to say, well, if you wanted to harm the development of a child, what would you do? You would give them a lot of this in the early stages when that's developing, right?
That's 100% right.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart though, just like to even think that this is happening. And this is, we are beyond a debate here. This is we are at a stage where there's literally crimes against humanity, and these people are protecting this industry, and it's evil.
It's an anti-human agenda. And you look at all of it: the abortion, the medical, the vaccines, the food. I mean, it's all to reduce humanity, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
And I don't disagree. I mean, it's evil. If you really look at it, zoom out of a 30,000 sky foot view, 100% agree.
Yeah. Doctor, thank you very much. Are you going to be at the conference in Austin?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I really want to be there, though. I have another event, and I would love to make it there, but I can't, unfortunately.
No worries. We're a sponsor, but we'll see you at the next one.
Yes.
Take care.
God bless.
Bye.